Okay, we're back at it with another one. Media review with that dude. This time, we're going to be discussing some politics. This is a bit of geopolitics and foreign politics. You would think that it's only foreign politics, but since most of our politicians, instead of being MAGA, wanted to make America great again, they seem to be wanting to make Israel great again or make Israel part of America. So instead of MAGA, they're MIGA, MIGA, making Israel great again. And there's nothing wrong with Israel being great, but why should we be footing the bill for it when we have so many issues here, so much disparity, depravity, and debauchery here at home? I think we should focus on cleaning our own house first. Like, imagine your house is extremely dirty, messy, filthy, and you say, "Hey, let me go help the neighbors clean their house." You come home and your house is still filthy. There's a spick and span. How does that help you? It's a feel good story. Maybe you can pat yourself on the back, but your house is still messy. Let's get right into the video. So, this is a Piers Morgan video. I can't stomach to watch all of this propaganda, but we are going to address it. He has a kooky and a colorful cast of characters on this. There is one gentleman that I at least am aware of that he has done good commentary. I believe that he is Palestinian. If he's not Palestinian, I know that he does represent for the Muslim and or Arab community. And then they got Jason Sambo, tap dancing, buck broken Bozo Whitlock on there. Don't need to hear what he has to say. Won't be anything good. But let's get right into the video. And this is about 30 minutes in.
Okay, Ishai, the one question that has been resolutely not answered very well by people on the Israeli side is why is it that Israel can be so concerned about everybody else's ability to have nuclear weapons in the Middle East, and yet itself, everybody knows Israel has a large nuclear defense armory, but they never admit it. No government has admitted it. And they don't lay themselves open to any of the normal checks and balances that go with being a nuclear power. Why is Israel given this extraordinary pass on nuclear weapons?
This is considered a great question, especially for mainstream media. Piers Morgan purports to be this independent creator that doesn't have a boss, but somebody is putting a battery in his back. He has sponsorship with which, hey, get your bag, bruh. But let's not act like his content is not controlled by someone or is not put out to placate a particular demographic. Will he ask a tough question here and there? But when he needs to or should ask a pertinent follow up question, which some would call a gotcha question, but it's not really a gotcha question, it's a clarifying question, he doesn't do it. So this is him pushing back. Hey, I've asked Israelis this tough question. Yeah, but you let them slide and obfuscate and deflect and redirect the discussion in so many other ways. But this is a good question right here because Israel is saying Iran cannot have nukes. We don't want them to be a nuclear power. However, there's this unspoken secret, or a secret that's not really a secret, that Israel has a massive nuclear capacity. Some have reported or speculated that they have 20 plus nuclear warheads minimum, maybe more, maybe less. Even if they have one nuke can cause devastation. So they're not letting anyone in to check their nuclear facilities, their nuclear capabilities. They have nuclear science. They spy on people and pride themselves on being able to extract information information that's publicly available and information that they're not supposed to have as well. They pride themselves on that. But when it comes to disseminating intelligence about them, you have all of this dirt and intelligence, and you're doing all of these clandestine operations to gather this information. And when someone wants to just say, hey, let's look and see what type of weapons you're cooking up over there, what are your scientists doing, what are they creating, then suddenly they become tight-lipped. Suddenly you don't have the access, and suddenly the only democracy in the Middle East starts to be seeming a bit autocratic, a bit authoritative, shall I say. So they're saying, hey, we are the protectors of the Middle East. So that's why we have to have nukes, even though we're not admitting to having nukes. But we cannot have Iran have any nukes, because essentially what they're saying is Iranians have low impulse control. And if they had nukes, there's no way that they would just sit on those nukes and not cause a nuclear holocaust. But that's just an assumption. It's not based in fact. They will say, hey, we seen some people in the street chanting death to Israel. Okay, those are words. And some people are chanting death to Israel, death to America. Of course, you don't want to hear that. You can think that it's disgusting or abhorrent. But when we all taught sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. So essentially, there has been many Israelis saying how disgusting the Palestinians are, that they see them as subhuman. Many of them have been open with their ethnic cleansing. By that logic, wouldn't that justify them preemptively attacking Israel to protect themselves from what they perceive to be an imminent threat? How is that any different? So Zionist Israelis run around threatening everyone. And it's just words, bro. Don't take us at face value. But when someone chants something in another Middle Eastern country, then no, you have to believe them. And not only believe them, we have to act on it and preemptively strike them, their hospitals, their weapons manufacturers and facilities. But if you do that to us, that's anti Semitic and you hate all Jews. But when they attack Iranians, it's not because they hate all Muslims or hate all Arabs. But let's see what he has to say to this question.
I've never seen the Israeli nuclear armament, so I can't say for sure. But, just like you, that's what we've heard all these years. And I think that if Israel indeed does have nuclear weapons, it's probably because we are responsible. We are a responsible country in the region that is the power broker, that is the defender, that is the responsible grown-up around there. And if you give nuclear arms to the Jews,
So he is saying that they are the responsible power brokers and the defenders. But if they're the defenders, why do they need a bunch of US backup? So basically, imagine Israel is like the little brother, and the USA is like the big brother. USA is like Debo, and Israel is like the little brother. Let's just call him Zebo. Now, Zebo goes around puffing out his chest saying, you can't F with me. I'm the biggest, baddest dude. And then when others come and say, hey, okay, let's see exactly how bad you are. Let's shoot the fair one. Me and you, mano y mano. You say you about that life. Let's see what you really about. And then you say, hey, I'm going to call my big brother. And then here come the Debo music. Dun, 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 dun. You feel me? Debo music comes in, and then the other groups like, hey, we were trying to fight you. We were trying to shoot the fade with you. Now you bringing your big bro into it. We don't want that smoke. It turns into a diplomatic situation. So all that does is empower and embolden the little bro to act that much more reckless when You got big bro that'll come right behind you and split a wig and crack a head. But if you're the defender, defend. If you're the power broker, be a power broker without the US, unless you're saying that you're heavily and or solely reliant on the US, then just say that clearly so people can say, hey, do we want to continuously fund this? Because there's free healthcare over there, there's free college over there. Some people living in Israel have a much better living than people over here. So some people are seeing people defecate in the streets. Some people are seeing dilapidated buildings, their schools falling apart. So in their mind, it's like, why don't we spend and invest those billions that we send overseas here? Especially if this other country is the big dog and they can defend themselves, they have a thriving economy, they're power brokers. Unless we're saying they can't pull themselves up by their bootstraps and that they are helpless victims, that they do need our help and our subsidies. I know people like to say, hey, we're allies, but would you help your ally before your family? You would help your family and make sure that your family, your country, your community is solid first. Then you look out to your ally. You don't look and see your family, your countrymen, your veterans starving and say, hey, look, I'm going to shoot you a thumbs up because I have to help our allies. I can't write you a check because I'm too busy writing checks to Netanyahu or Zelensky. Hey, but thank you for your service, homeless vet. Let's commence.
Jews and the Israelis, that's one thing. And if you give it to the Iranian regime, which murders its own people in the streets,
not answered very well by people on the Israeli side is why is it that Israel can be so concerned about everybody else's ability to have nuclear weapons in the Middle East, and yet itself, everybody knows Israel has a large nuclear defense armory, but they never admit it. No government has admitted it, and they don't lay themselves open to any of the normal checks and balances that go with being a nuclear power. Why is Israel given this extraordinary pass on nuclear weapons?
I've never seen the Israeli nuclear armament, so I can't say for sure. But, just like you, that's what we've heard all these years. And I think that if Israel indeed does have nuclear weapons, it's probably because we are responsible. We are a responsible country in the region that is the power broker, that is the defender, that is the responsible grown-up around there. And if you give nuclear arms to the Jews and the Israelis, that's one thing. And if you give it to the Iranian regime, which murders its own people in the streets every day, which has a whole suppression police, which funds terrorism, as you noted earlier, like these guys are going to use it in a bad way. So I think it's very simple.
But do you think Israel is behaving
and the jihadist Iranian regime?
Yeah, but I would say, do you think that anything that Israel...
So he's saying these other countries, they shouldn't have nukes because they're going to use it in a bad way. But if Israel hypothetically has these mystery nukes that no one knows if they had, yeah, if we do have those nukes, we'll use them in a good way. So what is the good way that they would use the nukes? Would they use them on one country, two countries? If they did use the nuke in just one country, used even similar firepower to them, I don't even think it has to be a nuke. It would be utter devastation and a massacre in Israel. This is not like fighting Iraq. Iran is going to be a different level of competition when you're talking about warfare, strategy, and just the sheer numbers. So they will need Big Bro Debo to come in, crack some heads, split some wigs to essentially save the day. Because if this is mano a mano, head up, fade for fade, country for country, Israel does not stand a chance.
Israel's currently doing in Gaza can be described as responsible?
Well, we had to destroy the Hamas.
So I'm going to rewind it back a little bit, but Piers asked him, hey, do you think what the bombardment that they're doing in Gaza right now is responsible? There's tens of thousands. Some people are saying hundreds of thousands of death. They are kids. People like to talk about family separations. There has been family annihilation, not just separations. There has been limbs separated, limbs amputated with no anesthesia. Most of their population is women and children. Most of the casualties have been civilian. This is genocidal. There's no other way to put this. This is not self defense. This is barbarism.
The Iranian regime, which murders its own people in the streets every day, which has a whole suppression police, which funds terrorism, as you noted earlier. Like, these guys are going to use it in a bad way. So I think it's very simple.
But do you think Israel is behaving
and the jihadist Iranian regime?
Yeah, but I would say, do you think that anything that Israel's currently doing in Gaza can be described as responsible?
Well, we had to destroy the Hamas organization. And, Piers, on many of your shows, which I watch, you talk a lot about genocidal language. You talk a lot about you ask, you grill people on the numbers. And I wanted to ask you, where...
Sounds like he was a little bit disturbed or agitated by saying you drill people on the numbers. Why wouldn't we drill people on the numbers? Or why wouldn't Piers drill people on the numbers when this is what the ICJ calls a plausible genocide? It's just a genocide. Adding plausible in there is just to throw a bone to Israel, to kind of soften and politely call it a genocide in the most respectful manner. But that's exactly what it is. So Israel is known for their intelligence gathering, public operations, clandestine operations. They are known for being elite at extracting information, gathering information, disseminating information, analyzing. This is something that many U.S. Congress people say, hey, they're doing us a favor for gathering this information. Okay, cool. So I have to take it at face value that they are exceptional at doing this, right? So they are so great at gathering information. Where is the information and the actual statistics of the casualties? See, they get mad when people point out and say, hey, look, there has been tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of deaths. Then they'll say, hey, that information was from Hamas. Okay, cool. Let me disregard and discard that information. Hamas has numbers, but Israel, who has superior capabilities, information gathering capabilities to Hamas, suddenly they don't have any numbers. And if they do have the numbers, where are the numbers? And let's break them down. Why don't they want to do that? They should be able to present the numbers and say, hey, look, these are our numbers, and how these numbers compare to other alleged or actual genocides in global history. They could use these numbers to buffer their argument, to make their perspective a bit more poignant, right? Make more people clear on, okay, this is why they're doing this and this is what they're doing. Instead, they get mad when people ask the numbers and say, hey, what are the numbers? How many people are dead? How many Hamas members did you kill? How many kids did you kill? How many kids are being amputated with no anesthesia? How many kids have all of their limbs? How many women were pregnant? Did they give birth? These are simple questions. A country with elite technology to gather this information and to monitor this population, they should be able to answer these relatively easy. Let's commence.
Where's your responsibility as a journalist to ask the most basic question, which is, Why isn't the world allowing for refugees? Right? When you in Ukraine, Russia, there are 4.25 million refugees that are spread all over Europe. In the Syrian civil conflict, there are 6.8 million refugees. They're in Turkey, they're in Europe. When you have a war conflict, you try to save people, non-combatants. You help them move out of the way. And nobody is allowing Egypt, an Arab country bordering Gaza, is not allowing Arabs to come in there to be refugees just to save their lives. Could it be that the reason that some of these players don't want the most natural thing, which is refugees, which is, by the way, part of international law? International law says the starting point for international protection is the admission of people fleeing persecution and violence to a territory where they could seek asylum and find safety. Where is that? Where is the call for that? That's the most obvious and basic thing. So if you don't have a call for that, then the people that are left there are collateral damage. They're getting hurt. And then people like you are like, what? There's like almost a genocide over there. Yeah, help them get out of the way. Help them get out of harm's way.
Well, I mean, look, my response to
Yeah, that was wild. So essentially, he's saying, hey, since these other countries, since they're Arab, you should take in other Arabs, even though you have nothing to do with this conflict. So they're telling them not to get involved, not to take side with the Palestinians. Like, don't flex your muscle, don't gang up on us and team up with the Palestinians. And then many Arab nations will say, okay, cool, this is not our fight. Then they turn around and say, hey, look, we bombed the crap out of them, permanently displace them. Now you have to take these people in because they're Arab. We don't care about the unemployment rate in your country. We don't care if there's food shortages, housing shortages. We don't care if there's limited medical supplies. They're Arab, so you need to take them in. International law says that. So they'll say that these people are too dangerous and too hostile to come into Israel. But no, yeah, they're Arab. You can go to Jordan, Egypt, or wherever else, but don't Israelis pride themselves on the amount of Arab population that they have? So why won't they bring in more Arabs? Why are they trying to dump them onto Jordan, Egypt, or any other place? This is their homeland. They don't want to leave. They're being displaced. They're being forced off of that homeland. So Trump and some other BlackRock, State Street, or J Street, Bilderberg, Amazon, Comcast, who knows? They want to come over there with the help of Trump and other oligarchs and turn it into a Riviera. It's just a Riviera that the Palestinians won't be able to live on. So this is extremely goofy, extremely disrespectful and hypocritical to say that, hey, we bomb these people and why won't you take them in? What's wrong? Oh, you don't want to take them in? See, this gives credence to why we don't even want to let them in because, they're dangerous and they want to kill all Jews and you're Arab and you don't even want to let them in. This is supposed to be one of those flimsy arguments that will easily fall apart if Piers even tried to ask some follow-up questions or poke some holes into it. But let's see what he has to say if he even challenges the BS that this dude just said.
So that would be that it's pretty clear from what people like Smotrich are saying, they don't want any Palestinians coming back. They don't believe in a refugee program. They believe in ethnic cleansing. They want all Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip irrevocably.
Bingo. This is about ethnic cleansing. This is not about international law. And hey, you have to take them in because it's international law. And if you don't do that, you're violating this. And why don't you love other Arabs, right? You should take in all these refugees. But why won't Israel do it? This is clearly a sign of ethnic cleansing. They're doing everything to ethnically cleanse these people off their land where they're aboriginal to, where they are the indigenous population. And instead of admitting this and being open with it, right? Just like with the nukes, instead of admitting it and being open with it, they're saying, Well, we don't have nukes, but if we did have nukes, this would be the reason that we have it, because we're the good guys and we're the protectors, right? And with this one, we're not ethnically cleansing people. We're just moving them to a safer space. See, we don't want to have to bomb them. But I saw this alleged Hamas member, and he was using his little baby as a human shield. That's why I bombed him and blew him into little bacon bits. I didn't want to do it. I just had to. Because if he didn't use a human shield, I wouldn't have had to blow him up. I wouldn't have had to obliterate, decimate, and annihilate his entire population and bloodline. These are the foolish arguments that they're essentially making once you translate it and break down all of this political Zionist fluff that he's spewing. But let's commence.
And
I'm asking you, Piers, what about you? Forget Smotrich.
Listen, I happen to agree with you. I happen to agree with you that the neighboring Arab countries could be doing more.
Okay, you're saying they could be doing more. Doing more how? By letting in more refugees? Piers Morgan just said that he knows these people are trying to ethnically cleanse people from Gaza, ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. And he's saying that the Arab people should be doing more, but he doesn't specify what that more is. You're saying that they should be taking in more refugees, which helps expedite the ethnic cleansing plan. Yeah, they should be doing more. They should be fighting Israel. If you're trying to lump them in and saying, oh, they're Arab, right? They should take in other Arabs because they're Arabs. Then shouldn't they be fighting the Israelis because they're Arab and they should be defending other Arabs?
I don't dispute that for a moment.
They block Arabs from going
but I also.
He said they block Arabs from going in. Okay, you bomb Arabs before they come in. So what is worse? It's a bunch of refugees outside your house and we say, hey, look, man, we love Arabs. We just can't let you in. We're full here. What is worse? Blocking or restricting people? Because there's a lot of blocking and restriction at the Israeli borders, or it's not really a border, at the Israeli fence, right? There's a lot of blocking there. They're not letting them in, but he's wagging his finger and saying, oh, look, these other countries, they're blocking Arabs from coming in. Oh, they're doing the same thing as Israel? Funny.
Also understand why many Palestinians and many Arabs look at the situation and hear what people like Smodrich say and think that there is a bigger picture plan going on here, which is for ultimately Israel to take complete control of Gaza and to take complete control of the West Bank.
Even Stevie Wonder could see what is going on here. And it's not just about what you can see. This is not just about speculation or conjecture. Netanyahu and other Zionist zealots have said this over and over. Piers Morgan knows this. He's just playing goofy and he plays stupid, and sometimes he'll ask the tough question to seem like he's holding people accountable. But a lot of the other stuff he will play goofy on when he already know what is happening. It's a genocide going on. It's ethnocide going on, i.e. ethnic cleansing. And there's no other way to put it. There's no logical rationale to excuse this.
Piers, can I just demonstrate real quick how Ishai is going to be?
Hang on, Omar, I will come to you. I just want Ishai to respond to that.
I'll answer this quickly. The answer is like this: we don't have.
Why the hell is Jason Sambo, Tap Dancing Whitlock on this panel? I have no idea. Just a random thought. Let's commence.
Have a war with Arabs. We don't have a war with Palestinians. We don't have a war with Islam. We have.
He says they don't have a war with Arabs, don't have a war with Palestinians when he's his country and he's advocating for his country to continue bombing Palestinian and people in the West Bank into oblivion. But hey, we don't have a war with them.
Have a war with jihadism. It happens to be that a lot of people in Gaza.
So it's okay for him to say that he has a war with jihadism, right? That's not Islamophobic. That's not anti-Arab. That's not anti-Muslim. But if you even question, hey, was it actually 6 million, that died on that historic atrocity? That would be considered anti-Semitic. If you even say something positive like, hey, man, this group is actually really great with money, anti-Semitic. This group focuses on group economics, money, power, and control. Anti-Semitic.
Are pro-Hamas. We saw all the videos. We know that. And so jihadists got to leave. They can't be inside our country and they can't be on our borders. They can't threaten us. That's who we're dealing with. I asked you a question about refugees to help save more people. That's what I want to see. I think that's...
Now he's talking about saving more people. So he's bombing people, displacing them and saying, hey, we want to save them by sending them somewhere else. Hey, you grew up in this house. I bombed it. So now this house doesn't exist. Most of your family doesn't exist, but I want to save you. So go to another country. That's me trying to save you.
That's what most Israelis want to see. And one last comment. Omar's point about the Iranian people suffering at the hands of Israel, well, that's not what the videos show. The videos all over TikTok and Telegram is of Iranians celebrating and calling for the end of the regime and thanking it.
Now he's bringing up TikTok. Remember the ADL and other Zionists and oligarchs and some of the right-wing whack job tech bros wanted to ban TikTok. Now he's citing TikTok. So TikTok is okay when it's showing videos that support his narrative. But when it was waking people up to push the from the river to the sea, free Palestine, and calling for another intifada, suddenly TikTok was the worst platform ever, and it was a reincarnation of Satan. But now it's just cool. Guess all of this stuff is just based on vibes.
Israel and being on the side of destroying the oppressive regime that rules them. I mean, to deny that and to make it look like
this is really rich. He's talking about an oppressive regime that is ruling people when Gazans, Palestinians have been under an occupation for who knows how long. This is wild. And where's Piers Morgan? He ain't calling none of this stuff out. Let me rewind it a little bit back and we'll commence.
I'll answer this quickly. The answer is like this. We don't have a war with Arabs. We don't have a war with Palestinians. We don't have a war with Islam. We have a war with jihadism. It happens to be that a lot of people in Gaza are pro-Hamas. We saw all the videos. We know that. And so jihadists got to leave. They can't be inside our country and they can't be on our borders. They can't threaten us. That's who we're dealing with. I asked you a question about refugees to help save more people. That's what I want to see. I think that's what most Israelis want to see. And one last comment. Omar's point about the Iranian people suffering at the hands of Israel, well, that's not what the videos show. The videos all over TikTok and Telegram is of Iranians celebrating and calling for the end of the regime and thanking Israel and being on the side of destroying the oppressive regime that rules them. I mean, to deny that and to make it look like Omar's version is the only version out there is just a laughable joke. You could just see it on all over the social media. We see that the Iranian people want the end of that regime. They want Israel to bomb those nuclear installations, to have a safe Israel. I was in Florida buying a suit. Iranian lady who was working there, she saw that I was Jewish and Israeli. She's like, I love Israel. I want to help you. I explained to her what I do in this world. She's like, let me help you pick out a suit. You've got to save our people. She says the boys that are protesters, they get taken down into dungeons and their eyes get gouged out by this regime. Save us. Okay, that's the lie that Omar's putting out there, as though there's two sides, Israel and Iran. No, there's millions of Iranians that are with Israel. There are millions of Arabs all over the world that are with Israel and want to see the end of jihadism.
Okay, all right. Omar, final word to you.
Sure. First, on the refugee issue, I mean, yes, absolutely. Unfortunately for Ishai, he can pretend he's concerned about them, but he can't turn on Israeli television without every politician and commentator salivating at the idea of driving Palestinians out. So there's obviously a plot to ethnically cleanse Palestinians, and he's here just being coy and disingenuous. And if he were serious, if he were actually concerned about the refugees in Gaza and getting them to safety, why doesn't Israel take them? They could very easily open their borders and let refugees from Gaza into Israel. He doesn't.
Got him. That's just what I was saying. He's such a bleeding heart, and we want to protect them. Protect them in Israel. Remember, he said earlier that Israel are the power brokers, the defenders, the protectors. Protect these refugees then. Protect these Palestinians. Let them preserve their ethnic and cultural pride on their land that they're indigenous to. All lives matter, right? Palestinian lives matter. Gazans, people in the West Bank, their lives matter, right? Take them in, Israel. Make Israel great again. MIGA. Make Israel great again by accepting all of these refugees. Stop wagging your fingers at Egypt, Jordan, or any other Arab nation. Take them in, Israel. Israel, take them in.
Do that. He wants somebody else to do it because he's trying to get rid of Palestinians who live in that area. So that's the just.
Yeah, he's trying to get the other people here. Do us a favor and take care of this Amalek, is what they would like to call them. Take care of them. Help us expedite the ethnic cleansing. Let me rewind it a little bit back, and then we'll wrap this up soon.
Refugee issue. I mean, yes, absolutely. Unfortunately for Ishai, he can pretend he's concerned about them, but he can't turn on Israeli television without every politician and commentator salivating at the idea of driving Palestinians out. So there's obviously a plot to ethnically cleanse Palestinians, and he's here just being coy and disingenuous. And if he were serious, if he were actually concerned about the refugees in Gaza and getting them to safety, why doesn't Israel take them? They could very easily open their borders and let refugees from Gaza into Israel. He doesn't do that. He wants somebody else to do it because he's trying to get rid of Palestinians who live in that area. So that's the just utterly ridiculous proposition that he's putting forward, and how easily it is to demonstrate how full of crap he is on this point. And finally, on the issue of Iran, note that, of course, there's going to be some pockets of Iranians who are celebrating. There are clueless people that you can find in any society who are willing to applaud whatever foreign invasion of their country they want. But Israel is killing Iranian civilians by the hundreds. It's what Iranians are watching in the destruction that is happening in Tehran. There's a rallying around the flag, even though many Iranians don't like their government. But when they see their country under attack by a foreign regional power that is genocidal, that is racist, that is an apartheid regime, and acts with impunity, that has the exact opposite effect, where there's going to be now even more support for the government to respond forcefully. So it's having the opposite effect of what Ishai is pretending, despite whatever 3 Iranian friends he has who are willing to applaud whatever he's doing.
And Omar, you don't think that Iran and its leadership will be intimidated by Trump's threats, and you've linked that to their Shia theology. Explain that.
Sure. There is one of the biggest religious holidays for Shia Muslims is commemorating the killing of Hussein, in which they recount his story, in which he was put between the choice of either accepting a confrontation that he definitely cannot win or a humiliating surrender. And you see on that day, every single year, literally millions of Shias around the world chanting in unison, "We would never accept a humiliating surrender." That is the slogan. And then Trump, who I think is probably being played by Netanyahu, pretending that this is a way to force the Iranian government to negotiate, putting out a call demanding an unconditional surrender from Iran, that once again has the exact opposite effect. It's going to trigger the sense of resilience and defiance within Iranians who are going to insist on resisting and fighting back. I think that's Netanyahu's plot. He's pretending as if this is a way to bring Iran back to the negotiations, but he knows that this is only going to push Iran towards further confrontation, and he is trying to drag the United States directly into this war because Israel knows it cannot win this war without direct U.S. participation.
You know, I read an interesting piece in a newspaper today about the parallels between the Assad regime in Syria, which obviously had many years of civil war, but last December, it all very, very, very quickly led to Assad leaving the country. So when it happened very fast, and it was driven by an uprising amongst the Syrian people. you could see it. You could see a situation, an extra scenario here, Omar. I think, where if enough Iranian people take exception to what has been done in their names, that the regime, since '79 in Iran has been going pretty much the same length of time as the Assad family ruled in Syria. It wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, now he's just babbling. I think that was enough. Piers is kind of equivocating, saying, hey, if enough Iranian people get in the street and protest their government has been a terrorist regime, etc. Hey, I'm not going to hold you. I'll take it at face value and say that's true. Shouldn't there be a massive protest in Israel that, hey, we don't support this genocide? I mean, we've already won. We don't need to keep warring with other countries. Shouldn't there be a massive anti-protest, anti-war protest in Israel? Shouldn't there be? Is there? Will there be? I doubt it. Seems that Bibi Netanyahu is painted as the villain in this super predator, right? But is he just carrying out what his people wants him to do? And if he's just going off on his own autocratic nature, who is resisting him, right? Who in the Knesset is resisting him? What rank and file people are in the streets actively creating a political movement to challenge, contest, and overthrow him? Maybe there is that contingent. I would love to know about it, but I have not heard anything about it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Let me know what your thoughts is in the comments, and we will be doing this again soon. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you.